Good evening, friends. Or, no, it's actually good morning. I just, while I was uploading part one, I took my little bowl of yogurt and banana and walked out into the front yard. Sunday morning, very quiet, nobody around, wonderfully quiet. Birds twittering away. And the essence of peace and harmony. What a gift, what a gift. Of course, the how shall we say, the middle and upper astrals are bosoms of peace and harmony themselves, and reflect the harmonious thoughts and feelings of those who live there. Although maybe I should correct that, they do reflect that, but they were created a long time ago for people in that state of mind. There are all these different levels that have been created by thought, as Skullsorp as progressed spirits, mature spirits, those who understand the basic parameters of behavior and consciousness that are going on the certain levels, and create communities and landscapes and mountain ranges. And that's the continuation of the original creativity, where landscape devas and planetary spirits help create planets. And that's another whole story, but it's reflective of the situation, the creative situation. And advanced spirits, mature spirits, don't need credit for what they do. The joy in doing, the joy and pleasure in doing so is enough, more than enough, which is why I've often found spirit guides, they don't have names. People ask what their spirit guide's name is, and they sort of, I think they make one up just to make you comfortable. If they're a really advanced spirit guide, they don't care, because they remember, amongst other things, they remember many of their past lives, and they go, okay, which of the 47 names would you like? They don't say that, but I can feel them thinking it. Now, some of the younger spirit guides who are still in some way, they're very giving and loving and want to help you out big time, but they're new to the game, and they're maybe still attached to their last life personality, and they'll say, yeah, John or Jennifer or Pierre or Fabio, they'll give all kinds of names. And some are attached. Well, they're maybe not attached, but they think, okay, if I appear like an old Chinese philosopher, wizened with a stick, and or I appear like a meditating monk, or they'll take on an appearance that assumes either one of their favorite past lives or the sort of thing that you're expecting. Anyway, it's all an interesting game, and we play many parts, as the bard said. There's a lot of talk, there has been forever, but more recently, the sightings of UFOs, the inquiries by Congress, and getting the Pentagon people to tell us what you're up to, and the internet is filled with this stuff. And in a couple of days from now, in fact, wait a minute, tomorrow, Stephen Greer will hold his meeting at the National Press Club, and various whistleblowers will speak of what they know, because they've been given amnesty by Congress. They're not afraid anymore. we'll find all about crashed UFOs and technology that's been back engineered, and so there's I've been participating in the lower echelons of the UFO community for years. I don't do original research, but I know people that do, and I've been kept abreast of developments, well, by my own efforts, of course, for 20, 30 years. So we've been kind of expecting that, we've been waiting for this to happen. And we're hoping that it bursts out of the UFO community and interested followers into the mainstream, the wide world. And, I've had contact with some extraterrestrial beings that is, again, is in my memoir. It is as yet unpublished. But I should mention, as well as the ones that visit the physical plane and interact with us physically, there are various beings that take an incarnation on the spirit worlds, or in the spirit worlds, or astral planes, because they want to experience the consciousness of humans there, because it's different than here. It's more elevated, it's more enlightened, but it's not, completely enlightened. And maybe tomorrow I'll dig that bit out of the manuscript. I don't have it with me right now, and we'll read that. And when you're on the astral plane, as I've touched on in a few different books, if someone tells you, someone looking human, looking like a dead human being, kind of bright and radiant as they are, cheerful, happy, and they say, well, actually, I'm from, Sirius, or from Andromeda, or, are they bragging? Is it like a status thing? Hey, I'm different, I'm better. Or are they telling the truth? Because they're looking human. And, spirits, once they've been hanging out in the astral plane for a while, they learn to morph their shapes anytime they want. As I said to several clients over the years, person-on-person client work, imagine a state where every time you go out for dinner with your spouse, you've got a new outfit and a new hairdo, and without any cost. The sort of things that people might fantasize about. And I said, that's what the astral plane is like. You can do that. And, there are restaurants, there are cafes, there are hotels, yada, yada, yada. It's all there. And it's just a sort of detail that cheers people up and makes them quite giddy. And I don't blame them. It's a lot of fun. Changing one's appearance and one's clothing is, it's like a fancy dress ball day by day. And so it's and the aliens, quote unquote, extraterrestrial biological entities that come to this planet, and some of them come in spaceships and do what they do, all of the things that you've heard about. And but some come with a specific agenda to incarnate, as it were, on the astral plane. Now, how do you incarnate on the astral plane? Well, you project a thought form, basically, and then you're there. It's easy enough, just like us going there now, as we will in a few minutes. And it's not like going into, a spirit going into a fetus and being born, gestating and being born in a regular way. But it is a commitment. They're there, and they report back to their home planet with data, And as I say, I've interacted with some of these spirits, and one thing I recall, I guess I'll have to get to my notes probably tomorrow. One thing I recall is because a lot of the extraterrestrial biological entities that come here, as you may have heard, they operate on a hive mind. Individuality is subsumed to the hive mind, like bees or whatever. They contribute to it telepathically all the time. And when we first discovered this in the abduction research 30 or 40 years ago, it was seen as a major difficulty, a major challenge to have them understand we operate like individuals and we can't be predicted. Like behavior and reactions can't be predicted. We can be happy, we can be annoyed, we can be angry, we can be all sorts of things, often on the spur of the moment. And they didn't get that. They're like, oh, these guys are too weird, we can't stand it. And they're so full of fear, or they're so full of this, or they're so full of that. And whereas they were rather predictable, like almost like robots at some points. So I think one of the things that they learn and transmit back to their home planetary systems is that in the astral plane, we're still kind of individuals. We don't suddenly coalesce into this, little army of repeatable reactions and attitudes. And I still think they're learning that. And also there's 2 or 3 books, Being with the Beings, where human souls that are certain that they are hybrids born into this physical world talk about their difficulties of adaptation and the challenges that they face. And they are challenged with all sorts of, funny little things that you wouldn't even think of. And I won't go into a rabbit hole describing that, but lots of small details. Setting a table for dinner, where does the fork go? All this kind of silly stuff, but, they are challenged by that because they don't get it. And as I say, there's a couple of books edited by Miguel Mendonca, where these people are interviewed, and 10 or 12 in each book, and there's a couple of other books as well. I'm not remembering David Jacobs, sorry, and it's interesting to see the challenges they face. A very sort of normal human challenges, really behavior pattern stuff, and that's appropriate, that's inappropriate. Don't do that, and on it goes. And as we get to know each other and we move toward past the brotherhood of man, which I know a lot of us are still having trouble with, into the brotherhood of sentient beings, which I think is the greater brotherhood of all sentient beings. And that's a heck of a big brotherhood, let me tell you. And I've been working on that myself and progressing slowly towards that. So, where were we on that one? A few notes on that, and I tell you, when I interacted with these beings, they're like human beings, like a couple living in a house in a small town. The meeting was arranged, and I went and talked to them, and it's in the book, and I'll read it to you later. But they are trying to be human. They are putting on the disguise, and they're learning, and they're on a course from their own home planetary system, and it's not for them to assert themselves or be superior or be psychically manipulative or anything. It's for them to learn to be humble humans and seeing what it's all about here on the astral plane. Okay? Speaking of the astral plane, let's go there. I was given some imagery, not right now, but yesterday. I get this imagery that suggests to me what I should be talking about. And I mean, who's doing the suggesting? Well, that's the classic question. Who's doing the suggestion? And, where do ideas come from? You can tussle with that one for a while. And artistic endeavors. As you know, I'm quite into that, all that stuff. And theater, music, film, music, the whole literature, the whole 9 yards. And I was given some imagery about a show that was going on. Now, who was it? Just give me a second here and I'll get it. Retrieve that little thing for you. there are performances, sort of theater, dance, music performances on a stage with an audience and backing musicians, if you like. Well, I think there was backing musicians. I was looking at the visual stuff. Think modern dance rather than classical ballet. Think of highly accomplished modern dance and the gymnastic contortions that they are so good at, dancing to music, either pre-recorded or played live. And the great beauty of an ensemble, going around. And the lead dancer starts to sing as well as dance, and carefully choreographed, and really cleverly done, really beautiful. And because it's the astral plane, of course, they can do all kinds of stuff. They can fly up in the air. They can do the gymnastic stuff with their feet way off the ground, and it's really lovely stuff. It's I wish I could film it, but use your imagination. Imagine modern dance where they're all 2 feet off the ground and whizzing about each other in gentle gesticulation and marvelous twisting around of rubbery elastic bodies. That's amazing stuff. And so one, as the group of dancers recedes to the back of the stage, but continues with their, going around. And the music continues, but a couple of the leads are come forward, and as they're dancing around each other, they sing. And it's a bit like a pop song, really. It's fairly mainstream pop songy type stuff. It's hummable melody, recognizable rhythm, a call and response kind of duet. And in the middle of it, they seem to project another couple. It's something that a being that looks like a male and a being that looks like a female. I'm not going to get too tight with the definitions here. And they project a little beam of light, and then there's 2 of them. The 2 of them are standing to the side of what they're doing. And you think, oh, hologram, this kind of thing. And so recognizable woman, recognizable guy, and second recognizable woman, second recognizable guy. And they're oh boy, this is beautiful. As I say, the original couple are singing a call and response kind of song, vaguely sort of R&B, I would say, and in that style, kind of upgraded Motown, with more inventive rhythms, I would say, to the Motown songs that you would remember, and but that's just me, my opinion, and the other couple start out seeming like they're doubling the harmonies of the first 2, right? And but then it gets very clever, and it starts to get complex in the way that a modern classical piece or a modern jazz piece would be, with 4 voices, and I'm not musically accomplished enough to describe that, but I think you get the general impression. And I could give you examples. To me, it's a bit like the Beach Boys reorchestrated by Gavin Bryars. I don't know if that means anything to you. I'm sorry if it doesn't. But you get the subtle complexity of what's going on here, interweaving melody lines and where they cross very intriguing harmonies. And the dancers are still going on in the background, doing this marvelous, modern dance sort of thing. as I say, very, very beautifully choreographed. Or maybe I'm just easily impressed, but I don't think so. And so I was given a glimpse of that, and I'm re-experiencing it now, and I hope you are too, using, don't be following my verbal description too tightly. Allow your own imagination to have its way, and you see what you see. And because on the astral plane, it's all about perception. And I've pondered on this before. Do audiences for theatrical performances, do they all see the same thing? I've wondered about that. And I haven't really pursued it, but I know that on the astral plane, it's all about perception. Do people, on an individual basis, do the people you see, do they look like they really look? Or do they look like you subconsciously want them to look? Or do they perceive what you subconsciously want and give it to you? I think all these possibilities are there and can be debated. It's one of the more fascinating things about on the lower astral where we've been, people are very sort of grumpy and predictable and narrow-minded and, low energy, and, it can all be fit into a certain small box. But on the upper levels, it's every man for himself in terms of imagination and creative activity. It really is. And although I am talking about certain entertainment venues, theatrical performances, I don't mean on the streets and parks of the towns and villages of the middle astral, or the Summerland, as the spiritualists call it. People are having fun, but they're generally behaving themselves, and there's a definite social code that is followed. People are polite and civilized, but more fun-loving, because it's easy to be that way. And there's less scheduling to do with jobs and, paying bills and all that kind of thing. But what I just described is very definitely a performance. And I wanted you to see that. When other channelings that I did years ago with people like David Bowie and Dennis Hopper, talking about how wonderful it was to be in the astral plane and realize that all this creative artistic activity was ongoing and they could join up with all sorts of things, theater, film, mixed media. And when they were talking about that, I was imagining sort of the sort of thing that I tried to describe there. And again, there's more stuff in my not yet published memoir, Moving Through Many Dimensions. But, we'll get to that. Okay, I'm going to move to from that theatrical performance. I don't have to get up out of my seat and apologize to people as I walk out of the row. I just disappear. That's another handy little thing, let me tell you. And I'm gone. And okay, here we go. The interesting thing about the alien spacecraft is that they're not completely etheric, they're not completely physical. They seem to can go from one level to the other, as maybe you've heard. They arrive here and manifest as they wish, or dematerialize as they wish. There's many stories of fighter jets chasing them and they just disappear if they're not whizzing along at 10,000 miles an hour. So when I talk about we're going to leave the astral plane and we're going to go physical, be to enter a spacecraft or one type of spacecraft, it's an interesting morphing because I can do it, but can I tell you how I do it? I'm not sure. So anyway, we're now, just follow me onto this alien spacecraft. Oh, it's one of the little ones, little saucer. There's only 3 or 4 people in it, and well, they're not people, but they're humanoid, but a little sort of odd looking. But don't tell them that. And one woman in a one-piece suit thing looks at me and says, "Oh, you're here again." And I said, "Oh, I was here before." "Yes, you were, like just a little while ago. Don't you remember?" And I said, "Sorry, no." And he said, "Well, you could just ask permission to come and bring a few onlookers." And I said, "Oh, okay. Is that okay?" "Yeah, we said it was okay, and it is okay." And who are these people? And I said, "They're people that are following a video that I'm making." And so she said, "Oh, I see. They're coming afterwards." Well, I think they're coming afterwards. I'm never quite sure how it works. I'm doing this live to air, and it'll go up on, as I'm sure you know about the internet, and they'll watch it and they'll project themselves into this video. And as marvelous as that may seem, and she said, "Oh, that's not marvelous to us. We do stuff like that all the time." And so I say to her, "But that brings up an interesting point. Do you how can I say, do all this kind of thing all the time as an automatic reaction, as something you don't even think of?" And she said, yes, we can do all that. We can manipulate time one way and another. It's it comes along with all the other things that we do. It's something we take for granted. We can just do it. And we can go, as you say in your linear conceptions, backwards in time. We can go back hundreds of years and appear to people in the 15 or 1300s, or even farther back. And we are as we are now, but they tend to perceive us in terms of their assumptions, their expectations, which are often angelic, demonic. You'll be familiar with the phrase "fiery chariots," yes. And I go, "Oh yes, you've picked right into my cultural history, haven't you?" And she said, "Yeah, well, we can look in your brain without much trouble." And I saw that image and I mentioned it. And she says, "Oh yeah, you're thinking, where am I from? We're from Arcturus." And some of our knowledge has seeped into your culture one way and another through science fiction novels. And we were always very gratified that your writers started writing science fiction, because it illuminated certain areas of ignorance and darkness that your culture did not understand. And it's helped a lot along with our attempts to penetrate your rather closed reality. I'm thinking, okay, thank you for that. And are these people that are coming with you interested in how we look? And again, I'm talking to the one appearing being that appears to be a woman. It's just effeminate features, soft, curvy, without being like glamorous, And there's other people in the space, So somebody sitting in the driver's seat looking at control panels, a small control panel. And she says, anticipates my thought, said, "No, we're not going anywhere. We're stopped right now because we thought, that might be better for you guys." And I said, "Oh, okay, thank you." And but they're not, she's like the hostess person, and giving. Well, we're not giving. It's not really a tour. It's too small. And she says, "You want to go to the mothership?" And I said, "Yeah, that'd be a good idea." So she says, "Okay, we'll do it kind of slowly." So she said, "We can go into it in a flash, and suddenly we're there, and you won't understand. But if we go slowly, we'll, and of course, slowly for them, still pretty fast for us." So there's a window. I'm looking out, almost like a windshield kind of window, and you can see out there. And we're approaching a large triangular craft. Are you surprised? And something goes like this, and we go in, and it closes up again. And we're in a docking bay, and yada yada yada. And she says, "Let me take you out of here." And I'm thinking, oh, she's going to lead me by the hand. But no, we disappear from inside the craft with the two or three other beings, and we're on inside the docking bay, and we're walking. We go through a metal door, and it's all very sort of gleamy, high-techy kind of stuff, And I wonder if it's just like one of our alien reproduction vehicles that Stephen Greer's been talking about for years. The back-engineered stuff from Roswell and all that stuff. It might be because apparently they're very well done at this point. You can't tell the difference. And it does not feel like we're in a military institution. It does not feel like the secret space program to me. And she turns to me and says, "Of course it isn't." She's talking with my kind of language, and it's a thought form, but it's kind of like that. "Of course it isn't. Don't be stupid. We're smarter than that," kind of thing. And she's about to launch into some critique of her secret space program. I can't remember, and I can sense that she's holding back. Oh, no, I'm not going to do that. She was almost ready to launch into some, like, "You guys and you're lying," or whatever. I can't remember. I'm not saying I can't remember. I'm not. It's things are going rather fast, and we're going down a corridor, and she says, "Well, let's go to the recreation area." So, left, right. No, wait a minute. Oh, we're going in an elevator. Oh, very nice. And she says, "Well, it's you're probably happier with that than disappearing and reappearing." And I thought, well, maybe not. But she's, the other three crew members have kind of sort of melted away, like, "Oh, well, we'll let her deal with that," and like they're ready for a coffee break or something. And so we're in the elevator, and it's going kind of slowly, I think, because she wants it to go slowly. And she's kind of looking me up and down and, being friendly, and there's nothing threatening about this. And she sort of assessing me in some way and saying, or, telepathing really, "You've had a lot of lives on that planet." And I said, "Well, I guess." I said, "We made a commitment thousands of years ago to do an evolutionary journey, an evolutionary spiral, and I'm committed to that." And no surprise there, I guess. Are you surprised? And she said, "Well, we don't incarnate as much. We are in incarnation, but we don't come and go as fast as you do. Like and I get the image of 70 years or 80 years or, And I think she's accessing cellular memory of all the birthings, in the old days when birthings were, challenging and difficult, and you often died in the process. And she's sort of looking at that and thinking, "Ooh, I'm glad I didn't have to do that." And it's all very quick. And I didn't think she was praising me or blaming me, just sort of commenting. So we get out the elevator and we're in a lovely recreational space, a big sort of domed area. It sort of looks like glass. If it's not glass, it's probably plastic or whatever, where there's light coming through. And there's all kinds of comfortably, it's almost like beanbaggy type things all over the place. And tables and couches and plants, lots of nice plants. And a couple of aquariums over there and over there. And like we would have them in a public building. And I'm not sure if they're thought forms or they're really there. Are they there because she thinks I'd like to see it? And there's other crew members. It's a big ship. And they're lounging around and relaxing and glancing up at me. Basically humanoid, but, bigger ears, taller, gentle, kind-looking beings. And they sense what's going on here, and they're I wouldn't say they give their energy in a loving, sort of compassionate way. That doesn't seem to be necessary. They're sort of curious and they're neutral, and we walk around. We look at all these really nice plants. A little more exotic than I'm used to. But then, I live in the northern, not so temperate zones of Canada, and the more incredibly colored tropical plants that we won't see near the equator in, Africa or South America, I'm not used to those. So if they're sort of like that, multicolored and rich and radiant, and all kinds of shapes and color combinations that we wouldn't see up here. So I'm easily impressed, and I say, "Can I sit down underneath this?" It's like a bird of paradise plant with it's even more beautiful. So I just sit underneath it and enjoy the vibe. She sits next to me, or not too close, but sits down and is my guide and companion, and is very kind. Unlike the others who are kind of neutral, maybe it's like they're trying not to be anything. They're trying not to get in the way. They're just like, oh, well, we're here and it's nice to see you and enjoy your time. And she said, you understand we're not that strange or weird. And I said, oh, okay, I accept that. I'm not categorizing you. I'm enjoying your the short pleasures of your company, and I will relay this to my audience, and of which I think they will not be surprised. Of the part of our culture that is open to your visiting from other planetary systems, they will accept this. There are other beings from elsewhere that seem to be a little more aggressive, a little more demanding, and we're a little, afraid of them. But we will get back to that later. And thank you, thank you.